Today I'm answering your questions on the Washington Commanders right here on the Commanders Report mailbag. And we're filming this during the Commanders Report live show on Thursday. So when this comes out, this is probably going to come out Eastern Sunday. So if anything I say here today is outdated or the questions are outdated, whatever, just know that we're recording this on Thursday. But if you want to ask a question, you want to get on the show, this is your perfect opportunity to do so because we have the most interactive Commanders fan community right here on YouTube. It's 100% free to join. So if you click that subscribe button today, you can join us for our Commanders Report live shows every single Thursday and get your questions on the show. I really do appreciate all of your support. We also have daily and free Commanders news and rumors coverage right here on the Commanders Report. So if you want to become an expert on this football team heading into the 2024 season, make sure you click that subscribe button right now. With that, I'll pause and open it up for questions. Jonathan Taylor, my man, coming in, and he says, I think Jordan Morgan as a second-round pick would be an absolute steal. Agree. I think steals are like, oh, man, he should be going like a whole round higher than where we're taking him. I think Jordan Morgan's a second-round offensive tackle. Now, maybe late first as well, but I think pick number 36 is about right for Jordan Morgan. I don't think he has the super high upside of some of the guys at the top of the class like Joe Alt and Troy Fotanu and Amarius Mims and Talisi Fuaga. And those guys have like all-pro caliber upside. I don't see that with Jordan Morgan. I see him as somebody that's very technically refined. I see him as somebody that can play right away in the National Football League. And I'm not sure if he's ever going to make a Pro Bowl or an all-pro team, but I think he's going to be a very solid starter in the league from the moment he gets in to the moment he gets out. I think he's a good, really good pick there at number 36, and if he's available, I think he's a prime candidate for the Washington Commanders. Then we got one from Cool Dude, and it says, how would you feel if the Commanders traded down and drafted Michael Penix Jr.? So listen, I'm higher on Michael Penix Jr. than most people. All right, I feel like the narrative on Penix, Producer Coop, has been, oh, he can't move. Oh, he's got a bunch of injuries. He's not going to be able to stay healthy. Oh, he's like a million years old. All these different things. And I disagree with those narratives. He's only 23, all right? So he's not a dinosaur. All right? Kenny Pickett was drafted in the first round. He was 24 when he was drafted, all right? Michael Penix Jr. is immensely more talented than Kenny Pickett. And then at his pro day this week, he ran a 4.53. I mean, and it looked like it was easy for him. So, and all the reports are saying the medicals are checking out. And then based on the film alone, I think Michael Penix Jr. is probably the second most NFL-ready quarterback in this draft behind only Caleb Williams. All right, I still think there's some warts on Jayden Daniels' film. There's a lot of warts on Drake May's film. But Michael Penix Jr., man, he makes very high-level throws down the field. And yes, he had some great receivers to work with, but man, the receivers don't throw the football. That's the quarterback. And Michael Penix Jr. had some seriously high-level throws down the field in college last year. Pretty good mental processor. He gets to his check down. He processes defenses pretty darn well. Very aggressive, good downfield vision. I like Michael Penix Jr. more than other people, but here's the issue. All right, here's the issue with Michael Penix Jr. Although he's a fit for Cliff Kingsbury's offense, and I would think he'd be a great fit for this team, if you trade down, you're running the risk that somebody else takes him. So say you trade down with the Minnesota Vikings at number 11, all right, and you're waiting all the way to 11. What if somebody like Las Vegas or Denver moves up inside the top 10 and takes Penix? Then it's like, are you going to get stuck with J.J. McCarthy or Bo Nix? It's like, I'm not willing to take that risk. I'm sitting at number 2. I see a guy in Jayden Daniels who is relatively polished, all right? I think he can be a day one starter in the National Football League as a passer. He's a dynamic rusher. That's the pick for me, man. He's got super high upside. He's still relatively young as well. I'm going with Jayden Daniels at number 2, and he's my day one starter. But let me know what you guys would do down there in the comments section. Would you trade down to take Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington? Type yes or type no for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw an ad break your way here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by giving me a yes or no down there in the comments. Then we got one from Ebony Wright. Says, do you think we going to draft defensive back? Absolutely. Now listen, they've definitely addressed both safety and cornerback in free agency, right? You get Michael Davis, who's fine, I guess, and then you get Jeremy Chin, somebody that I think is going to be a great, strong safety for this defense. But you have Emmanuel Forbes, you have Quan Martin, you have Derek Forrest, but I do see them getting another outside corner to pair with Emmanuel Forbes for the future, because I just don't think Benjamin St-Juste and Michael Davis is going to get the job done. And I would rather go out and get a high upside rookie like a Kyrie Jackson out of Oregon, for example, or maybe a Jarvis Brownlee Jr. out of Louisville, somebody like that to kind of fill out the rest of the secondary moving forward. Now, before we get into the rest of today's questions, no matter what happens in the NFL draft this year, no matter what quarterback they take, whatever, they're going to be wearing this hat on draft night, all right? It's the official Washington Commanders, officially licensed NFL draft hat for the 2024 NFL Draft, and it can be yours today when you use our link, chatsports.com/24DH. All right, so that link's going to be in the comments and description of today's show. So if you want to get your hands on this very historic draft hat for the Washington Commanders, I mean, 9 picks, 5 picks in the top 100. I mean, it's just 6 picks in the top 100. So lots of great opportunities for the Washington Commanders this year. Going to be getting a new quarterback. Make sure you get a piece of this history right now in your closet by going to chatsports.com/24DH. Again, that link is in the comments and description to get your Commanders draft hat today. Then we got one from Dennis Hill coming in. It says, should Washington draft Worthy to be our Curtis Samuel? Now, I think it might depend on where he falls. All right, if he's there at 36 or 40, maybe you think about it. But here's the thing to consider about Worthy. All right, the Commanders' wide receiver room is already relatively pretty darn small compared to the rest of the NFL. Right, the biggest receiver you have is Terry McLaurin, and he's just 6 foot. Right, so you need a little bit of size in there. And if you're adding Xavier Worthy to a wide receiver room that already has a 6 foot Terry McLaurin, and then even shorter than that, Jahan Dotson, not to mention shorter than that, De'Ami Brown, there's a lot of short receivers on this team. Not a whole lot of size, and Xavier Worthy isn't the biggest guy either. So I'm not sure if Worthy's really going to be on the Commanders' radar, but I guess you never know with a guy like Cliff Kingsbury that does like those speedy, shifty type receivers. Then we got one from Training Football. It says, what are the chances that the Commanders draft a safety to eventually replace Jeremy Chin at strong safety? It's not a great strong safety class, in my opinion. I think there's more like higher-end free safety types this year. So I think it's going to have to be the right player at the right time. I like Jaden Hicks out of Washington State quite a bit. If you can get him in like round 3, if he falls that far, I doubt he does. But if he does, I mean, I kind of like that pick there. You certainly have the amount of picks to go out and get a strong safety for the future. But honestly, I'm not sure if it's like a top need for the Washington Commanders heading into the draft this year. But I could certainly see them pulling the trigger on a safety that they end up liking. Now, you be the GM down there in the comments section. Should the Washington Commanders draft a safety before day 3? So in case you guys don't know, first 3 rounds, day 1 and day 2. All right, so before round 4 starts, should the Washington Commanders use one of their 6 top 100 picks to take a safety? Type D if you would draft one, or type W if you would wait. Now, before we get to the rest of the questions today, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon right now if you are a real one and you support our channel. The real ones know that clicking that thumbs up icon helps our channel out every single day by pushing that YouTube algorithm to push this video out to as many Commanders fans as possible. So if you want to take that half second to click that thumbs up icon right now, I would greatly appreciate it. Then we got one from Vance Mosley. What's up, Vance? Says, why don't the Commanders have the second pick of the second round? So it's because they have the same record as some other teams. Okay, so there's like a conglomerate of teams that have a certain amount of wins and losses, all right? And the first round draft order is determined by strength of schedule, I believe. And the Commanders had the weakest, so they had the same record as everybody, so they get the number 2 pick. So it's kind of confusing in that way. But essentially, there's a bunch of teams with the same record as the Commanders. But in the first round, they get the benefit of the doubt there because of the strength of schedule. So they have to shift things around in the other rounds because they had the same record. But at the end, that's just kind of the way it works. I know it's confusing. Then we got one from Brandon Alvarez. It says, who do you think wins the starting left guard spot between Nick Allegretti and Michael Deiter? It's a good question, man, because I don't know. It's going to depend on how they play in camp. Now, Allegretti was a starting left guard. I believe he was left guard for the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl last year. He tore his UCL. And for those of you that don't know the UCL, it's that tendon in your elbow that's associated with Tommy John surgery in the MLB. So he completely tore that in the game, and he finished the game. So this guy, toughness, check that box, man. But Michael Deiter had a pretty decent season last year with the Houston Texans. Started 10 games at a bevy of different interior offensive line positions. So it's going to be an interesting, competition there. Biotish is going to be the starting center. Cosme is going to be the starting right guard. So that means Allegretti and Deiter are going to be battling it out. But in terms of who's in pole position to start training camp, I think it's Allegretti because they brought him in first. Now who's going to win this battle for left guard? Let me know down there in the comments section. Type NA for Nick Allegretti or type MD for Michael Deiter. Very interesting dynamic there. Whoever wins, I hope they're better than Sadiq Charles and Chris Paul. All right, that'll be it for this week's mailbag, guys. I really do appreciate all of your support. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button right now for the latest Commanders news and rumors coverage all throughout the 2024 offseason.